you were pitching like some sort of certification process for people to make their domestic content, because there's a requirement around that.
The domestic content in Ontario.
My previous company used to manage everything around that, and I had the $1 million idea. It was actually the multi-million-dollar idea that we thought was like, we're going to certify everybody. Every worker is going to have these cards, right, which we're going to certify their residency. I still have the card printer somewhere here, actually. I think we used it for all of 20 cards. It was supposed to be hundreds of thousands of people, or tens of thousands. It was 50,000 jobs in Ontario was the target, right? So 50,000 jobs at $50 a card per year. I was just thinking, this is kind of the perfect business model, right? It's super easy. It's low impact, easy to deliver. We just have to get people on board. And that completely failed.
Welcome to Renewables Unscripted. Back to our conversation with founders and people on their renewable energy journey. Today, we're going to have Lennie Moreno. Do you want to tell us a little bit about him, Etienne?
Yeah, Lenny is another Montreal entrepreneur on the solar journey, a hustler in the purest form who kind of started canvassing and built up actually a great company, SofDesk, based here out of Montreal as well. He's a rapper, he's a founder, he's an entrepreneur, and he's an inspiration to a lot of people. So it's super exciting that we can have this time with him today.
Awesome. Let's get to it. Welcome, Lenny.
So first and foremost, Lenny, thank you so much for joining. It's amazing to chat. I know we've crossed paths as two Montreal entrepreneurs, in solar in Montreal. There's few of us, and as Quebecers on top of things. So it's great to have you here. We tried to start with Canada, talk to entrepreneurs. So should be fun. So as we said, it's totally unscripted. So we're talking about different topics and so on. We'll see where the conversation kind of guides us. In the intro, you're starting by saying you have so many projects on the go, and I saw and that's great. So that's kind of the next phase. What I really want to talk about today with James is the start to finish. It seems linear in practice, for not in practice, but in theory to the outside world. But we know that it's anything but linear in between. So talking about the messy middle of sorts. Sharing stories about that and so on. So that's kind of the idea that we're going with.
Okay. Well, just tell me what you want to know and I'll let you know, man.
So for me, when I think about a new business, and for you especially, it's like that first sale is so important, right? It really defines, it sets the tone, sets the future, sets expectations and everything like that. So do you want to start us by just kind of walking us through kind of how you got that first sale, who that was, what was that hustle all about?
Yeah, I mean, actually, it's a business before SofDesk. Like I used to do canvassing for solar systems, so I used to like run the whole operations, from like generating the lead to creating the quote, to offering financing options to some banks, and then partnering up with distributors, local installers, master electricians, so that we can actually complete the installation. And the first sale is a guy in Cobourg, Ontario, and I don't remember his last name, but his first name was Leslie, and he was the nicest guy. And it was hard, it was hard because I had like no cred. I had nothing, but I knew how to sell myself in a very, very specific way. So, I built like all these, I printed all like this marketing material to make me show like I'm legit, which, I was incorporated, but I mean, like nothing else than that, but I had the knowledge, so.
Hunger.
Yeah, hunger, man. So that's it. So I really worked him hard, and eventually he was like, "All right, cool. I'll move forward." He gave me a deposit, and I leverage off of that to not only do his install, but to reinvest in more marketing and so on and so forth. And I really like developed my relationship with him because he referred me to other people. And he was like my guy that said, hey, like I went through the process with Lenny and it was all cool, you know. And this is where like your first sale, the most important is to really build that trust and that family-like relationship. So there's no BS and it's all real. And from there, it was like pretty easy to make some other sales. But then from there, I saw like all the mess in the solar industry and I was like, we need a software. We need a software to put everything that I just said into like one platform and just run things smoothly. That's where I saw the opportunity. That's where I reinvested. This is where SofDesk came about. And then, you know, a whole other list of struggles there, but, you know, pick whichever one you want. I have the worst stories ever, you know, well, the best stories, but you know, they're the worst in practice. So.
Well, I love the story about building that person into your own champion, because that's one of those keys, right? To get that credibility is not only be the person selling, but have everybody else selling for you too, saying, you know what, this guy is the guy you need to get you to the next step. That's a really powerful thing. And it's funny because Etienne and I were discussing our first client, and we had a debate between who that first one was. And I was on to our actual first client, and Etienne was actually geared up to our first champion. That's who he was. And so it doesn't surprise me that that's the one he remembered the most, because they're the ones that did the exact same thing for us. Mm-hmm. They were the winners that kept praising us to the rest of the market.
I'm still texting with him today. I was like texting with him today, right? And he's no longer at the same company. He's about to use our product again, hopefully. And that's that relationship, right? That's that trust that's built through that journey. So that's good. Like the first sale versus that first champion. That's why I like to ask that question, Lenny, because it kind of opens the door. I had no idea that you had been in, like you were really canvassing before. I only saw Lenny, the software guy. I missed that part of your story. So what got you to that in the first place? Let's take a step back. Even beyond there.
Wow. Well, prior to that, I used to sell solar systems in Ontario under the microfit program.
Mm-hmm.
So I used to work for a company that would offer like the turnkey solutions. So I kind of got my knowledge from there, and then I started my own installation company, which got me to canvas, go door to door. Actually moved from Montreal to Gatineau, and then I was able to have an office. I subletted the subletter for a subcompartment for a small little office, but I was able to say, hey, my office is in Ottawa. This is the address. It's legit. There's a sign at the door and everything. So I moved out and I had like 3-4 of my friends that helped me move from Montreal to Gatineau. They were like, man, what the hell are you gonna do? Like what are you doing? I'm just like, I don't know, man. Like when you have a hunch, when you have a feeling, like you just go and you just follow your gut, man. And a lot of hardships, a lot of struggles, but I think that this is what ultimately like is making you savor the wins and reap the rewards like 10 times more. So yeah, man. And prior to that, I mean, it's so crazy, man, because prior to jumping in the solar industry, I was pretty lost in terms of like my the career to make money, I'll say. Because like I was always a rapper, I did music since I'm like pretty young, and I've always tried to just make music, have a little job here. The music is really like my passion, and at some point I was offered a job to work at the Scotiabank for the Investors Immigration Program, because I did my course for my CSC and my CPH. So I had a stockbroker's license. Mm-hmm. And essentially what happened is I applied to this job where like I would be in Bangladesh for 8 months out of 12. And they said, all you have to do is find families over there that are willing to invest $800,000 in the in the Canadian market, put the money in our banks, and then we give them visas and we help them, to move, to find a place, etc. And they thought I had some like charisma and I'd be good like as a salesman, to build a relationship. So huge application process, five interviews and 2 at the restaurant. And And essentially, this is what happened. I was begging for that job because, like it was cool. I would get to travel. I'd be in another country. I was paid like, 6 digits, which the job before that, I'd make like, 35,000 a year. So I was like, this is going to change my life. And I get the call. They say, hey, we love you. We are selecting you. So congratulations. But you have to send us one thing so we can open the file. On the application, they asked for a bachelor's in international business. And I told them that I had a how do you say, like a bachelor's by cumulative certificates at HEC or whatever. Total lie. I've never been. Like, it was just like, so I could get the interview. So I essentially did half a session at university, but I told him in the resume, I said, no, like I got this, So they asked me for the transcripts so they can make the equivalents, for like over there to say that I'm legit, I have my, I'm a university student, I'm a good citizen,
That you check the boxes, right?
Yeah,
That's a lot of things, right?
Yeah. And they said, okay, you're gonna need to send us that. So I just tell them straight up. I said, well, I don't have them. Like, I lied because I wanted the interview and I knew you were gonna like me and all that. And I knew I was the right guy for the job. The guy says, well, this comes as a great disturbance, like this comes as like this brutal, like reality check. Like, how are we supposed to trust you like 10,000 miles away when like you're lying on your thing, I said, well, listen, it's a good point, but I know who I am. And if I don't qualify, I don't qualify. The guy says, all right, I'll call you like in an hour. I'll check with our team. He calls me 5 minutes later. He's like, dude, we just can't do it, man. Bye.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That is fantastic.
Yeah. And then from there, and by the way, when they announced that I had the job, it wasn't in Bangladesh anymore. It was in Tehran. It was in Iran. And I was like, yeah, okay, like these countries, which, I mean, I don't know how stable they are, like politically and all that. But when he said, like, dude, you don't have the job, then I kept looking. And literally like 2 weeks later, I had an interview for a startup that was like, oh, we're going to sell solar turnkey solutions for like the microgrid program. And I said, okay, how much you're paying? $27,000 a year, but you get to make commission if you're good. I said, okay, let me check, I have another interview to sell hot water tanks, $100,000 a year on the road, driving, all that jazz. So you know what? I have a feeling about the solar stuff. And I just go $27,000. It was hard to make my first sale because they were a startup. And I just built it. And at some point I became really good. And that's kind of like what launched me into like the solar superstardom. And that's it, man. So that's kind of my story.
I had no idea. This is so cool. This is such, because often enough we meet other entrepreneurs or successful business people, and we meet them at a point of their journey, right? And like, you just had an exit last year. That's amazing. So you've now quote unquote checked the box. You've made it, right? You can put that on your resume, I guess, for your next job application.
Yeah. I don't think this is going to be a job application, to be honest. But yeah,
But that's what creates that. And I love the credibility angle that you brought to this, because when you're doing your first sale or establishing in the market and so on, like we had, I don't know if you know Toronto, Commerce Court. That's where our first office was, right? So we were sharing, I had a desk at an insurance company, but it was like Commerce Court. And they gave us a desk for free and they would give me our mail. So that was our address, which was like really buttoned down credibility giving, right? And it's all those hacks that you can put together to kind of raise the credibility of your profile to get that meeting. And then you build on that meeting and so on. So
It's funny. That's exactly how I met Etienne, was in that hustle stage for the first time. This is long before Power Hub started. And I remember meeting Etienne. He was total hustling at the time, right? Looking to try and this was way back in the LCAP days when you were pitching like some sort of certification process for people to make their domestic content, because there's a requirement around that.
The domestic content in Ontario.
My previous company used to manage everything around that, and I had the $1 million idea. It was actually the multi-million-dollar idea that we thought was like, we're going to certify everybody. Every worker is going to have these cards, right, which we're going to certify their residency. I still have the card printer somewhere here, actually. I think we used it for all of 20 cards. It was supposed to be hundreds of thousands of people. Or tens of thousands. It was 50,000 jobs in Ontario was the target, right? So 50,000 jobs at $50 a card per year. I was just thinking, this is kind of the perfect business model, right? It's super easy. It's low impact, easy to deliver. We just have to get people on board. And that completely failed. We pivoted. Right, it was worth a shot, right?
I have much worse than that, man. I used to have business cards that, like, it would say that I'm like a cement expert, because I worked like one summer in construction doing like pavement work. And I built these business cards, and the name of the company was Cemix, and essentially it was my name, and it said CEO. Company wasn't incorporated, the company wasn't registered. I didn't even have like the shovel, to like actually like do the work. I just printed the cards, and I was just, I'm going to go canvas and I'm going to get some contracts. And I started canvassing. Here, I work for Cemix. They're like, okay, what is Cemix? I'm like, you don't know Cemix, and I'm already like selling it like it's this big thing when it's like nothing, like it doesn't even exist, like other than on that card. But I have the CEO in mind, I always had like that like specific mentality. Never had a contract in cement, but it's like when you put something out there, and I was maybe like 18 years old when I did that, and like when you put something out there, like it just materializes. Sometimes I have like concepts for songs or for music videos or for like a project or an investment or like anything that's like related to something that like touches this earth. And right before sleeping, I think about it. When I wake up, I think about it. And I just like visualize it in a way that like it is reality, even if it's not out there. And eventually it just manifests itself. And that's the beauty of like manifestation. A lot of people, they underestimate how strong the manifestation of something that you want and something that that is positive for the world, like is actually going to work if you actually put the the right amount of brain power.
Yeah, because it gives you that underlying thing to keep driving towards it, right? It's almost like an energy below you that pushes you towards meeting that piece. I mean, you're not the first entrepreneur I've heard talk about things like this, that manifestation and that drive to get there. It's really interesting. And you also brought in like the goodness of it, that it's beyond just I want to make a lot of money. It's I want to do something special for myself, for other people, for the world, for my cat, like you name it.
All right. This week I just finalized the inspection for a house I bought for my mother. It's something that I visualized. I said, one day I'm going to buy something for my mother. She struggled all her life. Bang, now she has a penthouse in Ellis Island.
That's amazing, Lenny. And that's so, there's this fake it till you make it mentality sometimes, but the visualization, the manifestation is like what drives us. Like entrepreneurship for me is action. And that's what this is. You see a problem, you see something in the world that could be done better, and you kind of say, let's go. It may not be the right time, as we found out, James. Like when we started this, it was not the right time to start this, but you hustle, you push through, you learn, you make tons of mistakes and so on. You grow up. in the process. So one thing I'm curious about, Lenny, like you have this huge hustle, you're a great salesperson and so on. So what changed when you brought in like external capital to the mix? Because I know for us, we learned a lot, right? And like you now have to report and all these things. So I'm just wondering how that experience went for you.
Honestly, man, I'm someone that did my ego check a long time ago. Like, I think when I was like fairly young, when it comes to business in general and not knowing everything. So when I had the opportunity to have BDC Capital, Enertech Capital come in and say, hey, like, we're going to help you. We're going to teach you. We're going to bring in some board members, etc. It was all about the process of how do you connect with these people. And the best thing that I would say that Enertech did, and they really pushed for it like right away, as soon as like the money was in the bank, it's like, all right, we've set up a call with hubs in town. You probably know hubs in town, for the recruitment, for like board searches and like C-levels and all that. And they connected me with a bunch of people, but there's two people that really stuck. One of them is Kelsey, who was our chairman all this time, Kelsey Pegler. He used to be the president of NRG Home. Yeah. He sold this business when he was young. He used to own what's called Roof Diagnostic in Jersey. And then he converted roofing into solar when the solar opportunity came. And he did really, really well for himself. So as part of the transaction, he became president of NRG Home. And from there, once his contract was done, or golden handcuffs, we'll say, then he left. And once his non-compete expired, he was available for a board seat. And we're the same age. Well, he's like a year older than me. And we just connected, man. He was just a guy that like, it was like, man, you may not like what I say. You may not like the way I say it sometimes, but if I am to come in this, I'm not losing. Like, I hate losing. I want to win. And the way that he said it, for me, it was like, okay, I'd rather have this guy on my team than on the other guy's team. So it's like, it's better to be with like someone who's hard, and who wants to win and who's like a straight shooter than not to have him. So we connected, we traveled across the US together for, like fundraising opportunities, partnerships, etc. And the other person was Michelle McGee, who used to be a CMO at Solar City, which, became Tesla. She knew everyone in the game. She was, she has so much charisma. And essentially she really helped to navigate the psychological as well as the business. Because she's very like in touch with like emotions and people's personalities and, people's behaviors and, chief marketing officer. It's like, you got to understand people's behaviors. She was a master at that. Well, she is a master at that. And yeah, so like investors came, a board was formed, money was in the bank. I all of a sudden I was like, oh, like this is like validation, There's all like these who's in the solar industry that wants to be part of my, little idea. But I think it's because they saw the potential, not only of the idea, but of the team that I built around me, like pre-money, pre-seed, pre-all of that. I was able to convince people that were far much better than me at everything else than just leading and being a good salesman. I knew I was a good salesman. I knew I was a good leader. I knew I have a good heart. And I knew I had drive. But everything else, software, I don't have it. The patience to like organize stuff like, operations, for example, I don't have it. And finance, I don't have it. So, I had to recognize that. And I think that this is what made it easy for the investors and the board to just be like, well, you don't have these skills. Let's go out there and find what you're missing. And I was like, yeah, of course, I don't want to do these things. And I brought that thought all the way, like towards the end, all the way to like all Lenny's doing, he's talking to investors and he's giving a speech to the team once in a while. And if there's a big partnership, he's the one who's running it, just like the relationship. That's it. And that made it so that I gave all my power away to everybody else and say, you guys shine, you go and do whatever that you do best. And I think that, giving away power is the most beautiful thing if the goal is shared by everybody, to just navigate in the same direction. Everybody wants success. Everybody wants to do well. Everybody wants to make a little bit of money and, have like honor in what they do and pride. Okay, let's share that and let's do what we all love to do. And let's make sure that we complete each other correctly. And if everybody in the world would understand that, I honestly think that we'd be in a so much better place than we are right now.
I think you're right. It's funny because we've talked about this a few times and on other shows about that transition and that giving up of power being so powerful and so hard for the original founders, that you really come from a very unique place. I mean, we always joked, who was we were joking with, where it was like almost like giving up your baby that you raised, and then now you're suddenly handing it off to other people. It makes it really challenging, right? Yeah. It's a very strange place to be.
Yeah, I don't get that.
Well, there's two, in my humble opinion. I don't really care about power either, to be perfectly frank, and it's about the team. I remember doing my MBA, doing a survey, like a personality thing. It's like, hey, I'm an entrepreneur. Like I've known this, full stop, right? It's not a surprise to anyone around me or anything like that, but very team forming, like, because exactly like you said, like I have tons of shortcomings. James, let's not get into that. But that's the beauty of it. I couldn't code to save my life. I remember asking Reshma, who's a early member of our team, for access to some of the code base to I was writing something. And she's like, what the hell are you writing in our code? Do not touch anything. Like, what are you doing? Like, no. I just want to look at something to do a kind of screenshot or something like that, right? That's all. Like, it's from a marketing and sales angle, right? Not from I'm not going to touch your product. But that's so powerful. Like the handing over, and that's what make the team successful. And I really like what you're bringing there, because that's what people need to realize. Like, as an entrepreneur, you have your own equation, right, of sorts that you solve for yourself, but it has to be about the team. Without the team, entrepreneurs are a bunch of lonely people.
You're absolutely right, man. We were able to build something quite special at SofDesk. It was that like family spirit of, like, you can be who you are. You don't have to act when you get in the door. You don't have to dress a certain way. You don't have to restrain, like, talking about your passion. You don't have to restrain leaving your job and say, hey, like, I found something that's more me, even if that person means the world to the company. You have to encourage that. You have to say, dude, I am so proud of you. Every time that someone left, there's nobody, that can say that if I was in that meeting that I didn't say, dude, I'm so proud of you. I'm so happy for you. And I want the best, because life is about that. It's from going from here to there to there. And it's in your own way. It's your own path, like, yes, it's going to be a blow for us. It's going to hurt. No question. But this is not about us. This is about everyone being able to find their true shine and being able to graduate to the next level. And by having this attitude, it comes back tenfold, because the reputation around, there's more referrals, there's more people that, dude, this is the best place to work. And so, yeah, man. And I think that life has just like rewarded and gave me so many blessings by just wanting the best for people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What I really like is that those people are instrumental in the growth journey, right? So you need different people, I'm gonna say, or different skill sets at different stages and so on, right? So we've talked about your beginning. We've talked about how kind of I would say in the middle, you got external advice and like superstars that really help guide the ship. So how did did the exit process really kind of happen? Right. I remember talking with you. Where were we? In Salt Lake City, I think, SPI before.
Oh yeah.
That's 2019, right? And we're sitting down together like, hey, I just sold the business weeks before.
Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah.
And I was talking, hey, what are you thinking? And so on. I was like, yeah, not ready yet, thinking about it, and so on. So, what happened there?
Well, I think it was a process where like we got contacted by a few companies that started the conversation about, hey, like, are you for sale? Or like, have you thought about selling? And my answer was always, well, it depends on the number,
Fair answer.
Yeah, but no, like we're not really thinking of selling because we're doing great. We're on a growth trajectory. There's so many good, talented people that wants to be part of this story. We have the best culture. We're like, we just closed a funding round at the time. It was, I think, in September or October 2019. We closed a round that was led by Generac. Mm-hmm. And yeah, so like we have no money issues. We're on a growth trajectory. Our client count was huge. We're getting bigger and bigger contracts, bigger clients, enterprise deals, etc. Best in class features. I was like, why would I sell now? And then like it was about seeing what's not only the best for me, but what's the best for the team, for their opportunities, and what's best for the shareholders. Because we had Enertech, we had BDC, we had other investors as well that they're investing to eventually do an IPO or an exit. So we had an offer at some point, and it qualified. Because like when you have an offer, you have to bring to the board, hey, there's an offer, here's the letter of intent. Mm-hmm. And at some point there was one that was like a big number, so there was a meeting, and then they said, well, we're all happy with that, but it would be better if it would be, a little bit here,
a little bit more. More.
So yeah, and it was me and Kelsey that navigated this whole back and forth, and like a lot of moving parts, but ultimately what I was looking at was the fit for my team, because at that point we were like 65 employees, and I was like, well, where's their vision? Oh, let's look at their vision. They want to be vertically integrated, everything, the software, the hardware, and the whole like energy, from A to Z. I was like, this was my vision when I was at CMIX, you know what I mean? But it was like nothing, you know what I mean? They actually have it. And I saw like exactly under the hood, like what's happening. And I'm like, they're really like on their way to vertical integration. And I was like, product wise, they're killing it. They have a great reputation in like the solar industry. And we're like, yeah, like I think it's a pretty good fit. Like they're lacking exactly what we have, And so then I looked like starting to talk, to some people, and eventually all the pieces just were like fitting well. And me personally, I also had to make a decision, because I was like, I always knew that like SofDesk was not my end goal. I always knew that like it was a stepping stone to like many other projects. And I was like, I think that this is a fair stepping stone. It's like super successful exit for everybody. Very, very small turnover. There's barely anyone who left out of the 60 people. There's really just like, it's been a year, barely anyone who left. So, it shows that like we worked hard to kind of keep like the culture going, trying to keep the momentum of like how great our product is and how much more like we can develop it into, being the next level worldwide #1 product everywhere. And now it's really like, I would say, there's Aurora, and then there's like SolarGraf, I think it's pretty much head to head, and there's nobody else, like not even close. And I'm proud of that. It's like, you know, that's an accomplishment. So then the exit was it was crazy, man. You know, like when you have to announce it, and then like once it's inked, and then, you know, there's the contingencies, and you have to look at like all like the stuff that like you have to clear out, and there was so many crazy stories about that. But just everything happened for a reason, and ultimately, you know, I was given a mandate to build a new division there because I had like field experience, kitchen table experience, and software experience. So, you know, they wanted me to build a framework for an operation and maintenance division. So I did, and then they've acquired another company, and then they took it over because, you know, I was on my way out, and everything in great terms. I'm in great terms with all of them. You know, we just had a call for my like departure, you know, from the team, because, you know, I'm the founder, and, you know, I just wanted to say like farewell. Like, you know, like we're all part of the same consciousness, but we're living a different experience. And this experience, this is where it ends, and there's a new experience that's waiting for me. And I think that, you know, we're kind of like it was like sweet and sour, but I'm happy. You know, I'm happy that like I'm happy and comfortable, and I'm at true peace in my head of like what's waiting for me. And there's so much greatness that's waiting. So that's it, you know. That's awesome. Kind of the story.
That's very Zen. No, for lack of a better word. And transactions are so hard. And it's interesting that you got approached, right? That's the same thing that kind of happened to us. And ultimately, the who is more important sometimes than the number on the piece of paper. The number on the piece of paper is also important.
Yeah.
But it's a balance, right? It's who's across a desk, who are you going to work with, and so on, for how long, how are they going to treat your team, how are they not going to treat your team, and so on. It's interesting to look at it with hindsight. Like, okay, well, we checked all these boxes, and there's some things that we still need to do, and learn from that, and then move on. And the moving on is the interesting part. So that's fresh for you, like you said, March 4th. So that's 12 days ago. So
yeah, that was like the last like official day, but like my functions and like reporting, you know, it was like fading out over the last few months, you know.
Okay.
It's still like an interesting day. Like, how did you feel? I'm really curious because it's an interesting concept. Is how did you feel giving that speech? Like you've gone and you've given everybody else the attaboy, like, great, I'm glad you found your next place, right? And you've talked about how you've got other projects coming, but like, talk to me about that day. I'm really curious about that moment you're standing in front of everybody saying, guys, I'm getting off this ship and I'm going on a different road.
Well, I think my message, I actually like I did a live Zoom with like the people that showed up. It was like on a Friday afternoon. But then I did a video. So the Zoom was really like, it wasn't about me. It was just, I was asking like person per person, how do you feel? How's it going? You know, where do you stand like psychologically? Are you happy? Like, I was just asking questions about them. I didn't even say nothing about me. And then I made a video so that the people that could not join could hear it. And I sent that video off a few days after. And it was like the same format as like my how to win videos that you know, it's like fairly professional. And it's a 2-minute video that essentially just, you know, said, here's who you are, like the shine that's inside you. And here's who I am. Like, I come from nothing. I grew up with my grandparents on the couch. I struggled for everything. I had all sorts of jobs. I got kicked out of school twice. I'm an underdog, you know? But ultimately, it's like, I know what I'm worth. And if I don't care about what other people think, and if I believe in myself, and if I believe that, like, I don't have to shut up don't have to try to be somebody that they want me to be. Ultimately, God is going to reward me with where I'm supposed to belong. And I was explaining that for them to understand that like they have their own shine and they should never be afraid of anything in order to find who they really are. And sometimes it's tough, when you have like financial obligations and families and bills, and I've been there and I know what it is, but it's how are you letting yourself be afraid? And if you're not afraid and you just dive in and you're like, it's the struggles and the pain and the hardships that creates diamonds, it's that. And I said, this is what you have to like put yourself in harm's way. Like, don't be afraid of that, don't be afraid to be judged. Just be you, and life is just going to reward you. And that's all that was essentially like a 2-minute video that was just like, here's where I believe the potential of the world is, and here's how it's repressed, So you have to like find what's in between and just navigate it. But it was just like a shout out to them, it wasn't about like, here's what I'm going to do,
Yeah, no, I love the story. I love the supporting your team. It's awesome. It brings me back to like when I used to coach baseball and things like that. It's all about raising them up. I truly miss some of those days. It's
I feel you, man.
It's a great feeling to help somebody else succeed and bring them out and be all about them. And it's a phenomenal. So where are you off to now? What's the next project? You talked about having a bunch of them. What's next?
Well, right now I'm mentoring a few entrepreneurs, that I may or may not invest in. But, I realized that I'm a good coach / motivator because I've been there, done that. I've worked in the worst places you can possibly imagine. I was a dishwasher at La Cage au Sport once. And when like you're done with the plates and you're like, oh, like I'm seeing the end, and then there's like 100,000 more that are coming, and it's like never ending. And you're like, where's the light at the end of the tunnel there, And it's like when you've been through those days, it's like, dude, like I can relate to pretty much anyone, and like what they've been through. So now I'm like mentoring, and it's been pretty cool. I've been doing the How to Win series, which has like a subject, that I'm tackling with like 3 tips on that subject. But now I took a break from everything since March 4th, and all I've been doing is recording a double album, and I'm putting all my energy into this album. It's 14 tracks on the Red Pill side and 14 tracks on the Blue Night side. And it's highest level of production, highest level of sound engineering, highest level of video creation. And I'm going to release it in May. And I think it's
wow, that's fast.
It's the best project. I already wrote all the songs. I'm telling you, I was writing like 3 songs a day. It's like I was repressed, I feel, and now it's just I'm such in a great creative space. I can write masterpieces in like 30 to 60 minutes. And it's been doing so well. I can't wait to send you a copy. I'm going to send you a vinyl.
I love that
legendary
idea.
That I can't wait to listen, because I think I've listened to a few of your songs and they have such a positive outlook.
Thanks,
and
man.
I think there's one lyric that I caught on. It's like, I believe a lot in myself. I'm paraphrasing because obviously don't have your lyricism. So apologies there. That you're your own biggest fan, and everybody should be their own biggest fan, or something like that.
It's I believe I'm the greatest. I think you should feel the same about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Close enough. Sorry about that.
No, it's good.
But that is, I think you're talking earlier about making other people shine, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think I caught on to that, and I'm a true believer in that. And we all have our own role to play, our own road to pave and push forward and so on. So I think if you're putting a very positive I was going to say a double-sided album. Fuck, that makes
that dates you.
I guess, yeah, that dates me. Ouch. Well,
That's
I was
funny.
offered a vinyl, right?
Yeah,
I'm
well,
not that old.
he's gonna make a mixtape later for you.
No, but the vinyl is timeless, and a vinyl. See it,
Now you have Tupac behind you.
dude. I have a bunch. I have Kanye West here.
Yeah.
A little higher here, I have Michael Jackson.
Oh, Michael Jackson.
Yeah. The vinyl is something that, in my opinion, never goes out of style.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's an art piece.
Well, Lenny, thank you so much for sharing such a wide range of topics that we've touched on today. That's why the show is called Renewables Unscripted, because had we scripted this, it wouldn't have been possible. Because we've touched on so many different things. First and foremost, congratulations.
Thanks.
I think we touched on that on an amazing journey, a great exit, on fantastic music and an upcoming album on top of things. So I can't wait to listen to that, actually. I think it's going to be amazing. And for the wave of purpose and so on, helping others and outreach, I think that's the most noble of anything. So as a purpose, thumbs up, brother.
Yeah,
Thanks,
love
man.
the vision.
Thanks, man.